Maybe you guys do or don't agree with what I'm about to say, but one thing that I'm seeing a lot on the internet is people being pinned against one another, people being opposing one another when it comes to work ethic and work culture. It gets really interesting because I've made videos talking about how the 9 to 5 is becoming increasingly difficult to sustain a life in countries like the UK, for example, or the US. And I get in the comments people saying, well, if people don't like it, they should work 80 hours a week, they should start a business. There is a degree of truth to this, and there is an element of truth to the fact that running a business, starting a business, will, to some degree, set you free. This is the thing though, not everybody is set out to run a business. And people who start a business, like me, other people who run businesses, we need to remember what made us want to run a business in the first place. I don't know about you guys, but when I thought about running my business and why I wanted to do it, it was mainly due to a degree of freedom. I wanted freedom over my time, I wanted freedom over my location, I wanted freedom over my earnings abilities. By having a business, I do have all of these abilities. I can go where I want, as long as I've got access to the internet, I can make money, and again, I have access to unlimited earning potential. My work ethic, and my efforts directly relate to how much money I can make. Other people who run businesses, the answer might be to increase their income, but the overarching thing that we do see with people who run businesses and people who aspire to run businesses is they want to be exceptional. This ties in very importantly to what I'm about to say. But let's first focus on that. If you run a business like I do, you want to be exceptional. You want to be the exception so that you can move over your location. That's not normal, that's exceptional. You want to be exceptional in terms of your earnings potential. Again, you want to be above average, that is exceptional. You want to have location independence, you want to have unlimited earnings. Again, all of these things are, to a degree, exceptional. They are not the rule, they are the exception. And I want to talk back about that point that I just said. If you started a business, if you run a business, you do it because you want or wanted to be exceptional. Why do I keep repeating this point? Well, there is a good reason for it. Because business owners are the exception to the rule. They're people who've gone down a certain path, and the same goes for people who work long hours, right? People who work 60, 70, 80 hours, they don't do it to be normal, they do it because they want to be the exception, they want to have more money, they want to have more investments. All of these different things relates to high work ethic. Most people don't want to be that exceptional. Most people don't want to be anything besides normal. They don't care about driving a Lamborghini, they don't care about living in a mansion, they just want to be told what to do, go to work 40 hours a week and expect a decent quality of life for it. And here is where things get interesting, because as a business owner, and as business owners and long workers, workers of long shifts, please remind yourself, like I try to, why we started. We started because we wanted something different. So when I hear people saying, I run a business and yes, I took risk, but now I've got X amount of money, or people saying, I worked 80 hours a week, you chose to be exceptional. I do agree with that, I do understand the reasoning for it, but that's not what most people want to do. Now this is the thing, whilst it's okay for people who want to be exceptional to do this, it shouldn't be the rule. It should not be the rule. At a time where we've seen many companies have corporate profits higher than ever, and workers' wages are not matching up, we need to bring attention to that. And what I'm saying at the start of the video is that we're seeing people, different groups of people, being pinned against one another. Entrepreneurs, hard workers being pinned against the average 9 to 5 worker. And we're seeing people saying that the 9 to 5 workers are lazy, they're wrong, they should expect less. But here is the thing, guys. Most people don't want to work 80 hours a week because they don't want to have a Lamborghini. They don't care that much. They just want to have a decent standard of life for them, maybe their wife and their kids, right? This is important. This is important context. So now we're creating a culture, in a work culture sense, where many people think it's kind of normal to work more than 40 hours a week, more than 60 hours a week. We're seeing a culture where most people think that you shouldn't expect to have a good quality of life from 40 hours a week. But here's where things get really quite messy. Because these business owners don't understand that the people who work 40 hours a week, they don't need their quality of life. They need a decent standard of life, and that is essentially being eroded. Inflation is going up, cost of assets are going up, and the same companies who people work for, they're the companies putting the prices up on the shelves, they're the companies helping to make inflation go higher, and they're also the companies who are profiteering the most from this inflation. This is all important context for today's conversation because, look, I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me here, but I really do think that people who have done everything right, gone to university, gone to get a good job, and done all of the work, we shouldn't be criminalizing them or villainizing them in a way where we say, you know, they're not working hard enough, or they need to start a business, or they're just dumb. It's not right, guys. It's not right. And again, as business owners, please remind yourself that you started because you wanted to be the exception. Not everybody needs to be like you. And I feel like this is something which is intentionally being done because what it creates is an even more perpetuated hustle culture. And what does hustle culture do? Who does it benefit? Mainly corporations. The reason why this is because if you have a obvious think about it, it's just financial management in the most common sense, right? A company wouldn't be hiring you or other members of staff if you didn't make them a decent return on investment. So you're making the company probably more than what you are earning. To be honest, I've seen this in real time, right? You have one employee on let's say a cashier, right? You got one cashier, one person stacking the shelves, it's a two-person shop, and they're selling clothing where the markup is maybe 50%, the item itself costs £100. That member of staff's entire shift has almost been paid off by one sale, right? This is important. So companies can obviously afford you, right? Companies can obviously afford you. And you working more just boost productivity for them. It will increase your wages, but where are we going with this, right? That's my point. Where are we going? Telling people to work 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. For what, guys? For what? If you started a business, it's probably because you wanted to be exceptional. That's cool. That's great. I agree and I applaud you. But that's not what the average person wants, and we need to bring more attention back to that fact. The average person is just trying to get by, just trying to do okay for themselves. And we shouldn't be really calling them lazy or whatever for working 40 hours a week. It's a good shift, it's a lot of time, and again, 20, 30, even 10 years ago, it would have bought you a lot more than it can now. This idea that people should just work more and more hours forever, it's getting ridiculous, guys, and we need to really point to the main issue, but I feel like there's a reason that we don't. I feel like when we're pointing fingers at each other rather than talking about corporate profits and all of the other issues that we really should be discussing, companies are happy, right? Companies are happy because you're not pointing the finger where it should be. And also, you're actually kind of benefiting the companies because if more people work 80 hours, it's better for them. It means they can be open longer, make more money. It's just really a crazy situation that people are pinning each other against one another in such a way. I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. Maybe I'm just going crazy. Maybe I'm just lazy myself. I'm sure I'll be inundated with comments telling me that anyway, so can't wait for it. Thank you. I'll see you again. Goodbye.